Mother and take bus, not this.
I know they have nothing to do. And my father, the boarder, would take us, and then we just window shop downtown and come back and walk all the way home again.
Where would you shop?
Oh, no, you walk into town and you just cross the bridge. See, here, like we crossed here, we went over the bridge, and then you still had like, I'd say about a mile from the tunnel, Jeff? No, not even that. And we hit right in town where Main Company, where the square is and all.
That's how they filled it in.
I wondered how they did that, because that was a... Oh, yeah. I'd say that was an awful big hole to go down in.
It yells.
East.
Right, there's that building there.
Yeah. And that's the high-level bridge of there. See, they're filling in all the... Where's the cars used to come up. And that's 28th Street, too.
Yeah.
Banners and everything, we'd walk across that bridge. Down.
They call it the Bobby Bridge.
Yeah, they go in.
Why do they call it the Bobby
Because it used to ride that track.
I think it was because of the demise of the streetcars.
Ladies room.
Engineer's office, and I'll be your tour guide for today through the Veterans Memorial Detroit Superior Bridge subway area. The bridge was opened in 1918. At the time, it was the world's largest double-deck bridge. The overhead steel span is 196 feet tall. You see what it looked like in 1915 when it was under construction. It was built by the King Bridge Company. The upper level originally conveyed 4 lanes of traffic and was widened in 1969 when the 2 outside lanes were added. We also conveyed 4 streetcar tracks on the lower level. You can see the river span where they used to run. And then they would enter a subway system underneath West 25th Street and Detroit Avenues, and that's where our walking tour will take place today. Did everybody get an informational card? Okay, real good. You might want to hold on to that. It's kind of a general overview of what I'm going to tell you today. For our tour, one of my associates, Mr. Potachik, is by the door, and he'll lead you out. This bridge was the largest double-deck bridge in the world in 1918. If you were traveling on a streetcar from Public Square westbound along Superior Avenue, you would have entered our subway in two portholes right in the center of the boulevard near the State Office Tower. You would travel through a short subway tunnel up towards the river span and across the steel superstructure on railroad ties. How many of you remember that ride? Remember that? It was really memorable because many times the streetcar drivers would be running behind schedule and they want to pick up some time, so they would floor across the bridge. They could hit a maximum speed about 50 miles an hour as they hit the river span. And of course, streetcars going slow, rock back and forth. But you can imagine what it would have been like going across the wood and looking down, hitting that speed, and the thing jostling you around, and you can see the drink below, which was about 100 feet down. So that was a memorable ride. The four tracks would come across the river. We had a track out here. We had two tracks in the center aisle and a track on the outside over here. The tracks would then split off when they got into the subway area. Two tracks would extend down Detroit Avenue, and there were two tracks down West 25th Street. You'll note the chalk marks throughout the bridge area. We are doing an engineering study for the upcoming renovation of this bridge, scheduled to begin sometime probably in the mid-1990s after the rehabilitation of the Main Avenue Bridge. Of course, the Main Avenue Bridge is the big blue bridge which joins the east and west shoreways by Cleveland Municipal Stadium. That particular structure will be closed sometime next year for approximately 20 months for a $50 million reconstruction. This bridge will be used as the major detour, and for those of you who are interested in that bridge closing, we have some pamphlets back in our display talking about the detour as well as the project. So that's a little bit about bridges in this area. What we'll do is we'll walk down through the tunnel areas. Please follow the tape, and we'll gather once again when we get to the subway area. I don't know what happens to it. There must be a hole somewhere or something. But
The subway monster gets them.
that's true. There must be something here. Now, if you listen, okay, there's no sound. We're underneath the intersection. You can't hear anything. It even gets quieter as we get into the subway. However, I like to say if you listen closely, you can still hear the bells and the rattling change and the conductor's booming voice. Next stop, Public Square. And you can hear the crack of the electricity. You can smell a whiff of the ozone, and you take off down towards Public Square. I think I've been in here too long. Well, anyway, it gets to you after a while. This was the West 25th Street entrance. You could walk up through here, out onto the sidewalk. You'd come up by the old Royal Castle restaurant, which has been vacant for quite a few years. There's also a wide sidewalk there and the CMHA Administration Building parking lot. That's where this went to. Behind us, we have the old locker room where the streetcar employees used to work. There was not just one particular streetcar company that used this bridge. There were all different lines, all different companies that used this as their major crossing of the Cuyahoga River. If you came down here in 1920, you would see the Lakeshore Electric lines, which are the interurban cars. You'd see the small dinky cars coming through. All different cars, all different styles, all different lines. Behind us, you'll see some pipes. Those are what's left of Cleveland's old steam lines. And then they also the pipes that we duct down underneath. Those are AT&T long-distance fiber optic lines. Many of our bridges now carry utilities. Over on the lower level of the Home Memorial Lorraine Carnegie, which was designed for two streetcar lines and two truck lanes, that carries CEI, East Ohio gas lines, and some municipal light lines. So we do try to make good space, good use of these lower levels for utilities.
So it looked like a couple of conveyor belts before.
Oh, okay. The covering, which you see, those were for the two pipes. They were extremely hot at one time, and they put those covers over them. I believe there also might have been some rolling. They might have been rolled in some sort of material as well. but that's all been taken out. You'll also notice the ornamental arches, the recessed lighting, also the recessed lighting at the top of the arch. We also have the glazed brickwork, which has been here since 1918 when this was opened up. So it is rather unique. And what we will do after this, we're looking here, we will walk down, follow the tape. As you walk down past the left, or on the left, you'll see the old control room for the electricity. And that's where the engineer would be on duty to throw the power and the switches for the electric streetcar as well as for the lighting. And then we'll gather again right at the entrance to the Forest City Bank building. Asked anybody yet, have we? No. Not here. This is the largest group we brought through today, so it takes time for everybody to catch up with each other. Well, I'll start. Okay. They'll catch up to us. We passed the restrooms. We passed a stairwell which led down to a passage underneath us which provided for pedestrian access from one side of the subway to the other. You'll notice the stairwell here. That was also for the pedestrian access way. No one ever had to cross the subway tracks. Even though you'll see that we are standing at track level, there are no platforms. You never had to cross the tracks to get from one side of the bridge to the other. You went through the tunnel areas. Believe it or not, the tunnels, unfortunately, we couldn't open them. They're about 30 degrees cooler down there than it is up here. It's unusual. Also, if you're into geology, you'll notice that we have some stalactites throughout the tunnel areas. Makes the place look kind of creepy, doesn't it? But we've got those hanging off our ceilings in numerous areas. We'll also see some more lines. We've got some Cleveland water lines and a sludge line here. Hopefully it won't break. But we do use them for utilities. We're right here at the entrance to the Forest City Bank building. This was probably the most popular entrance into the subway. Up top, of course, we had the Forest City Bank. And down on the lower atrium here, there was a restaurant, well, not a restaurant, but a coffee shop. There was a little pharmacy and also a newsstand. I know about the newsstand because my father-in-law used to run it. So he used to tell me about this here. And people would come in through this entrance up into the building, or they could go up into that entrance, which led up into the coffee shop area. Over the years, of course, this building changed in ownership and so forth. And unfortunately, after the streetcars were discontinued in 1954, and this was all closed down, this building did fall into ill repair. It became a low-rent tenement in the 60s and 70s. And you might recall about 5 years ago it caught fire, and the upper floors and the roof were burned off the building. The structure is currently undergoing a $2 million renovation. Right up these stairs will be Massimo's Italian restaurant. Massimo is from Milan, Italy. He's let us come up into his building on several occasions. And you'll recognize him if you go to Massimo. He wears a big bow tie, and he's got long brown hair down to about the middle of his back. Very unusual person. But I think you'd enjoy the restaurant. It's northern Italian cuisine, and he wanted me to tell you about it since he's not here today. So I think it'll be something we can look forward to. They also bought Kiefer's, by the way, and they're going to be renovating that building as well, and there's going to be a parking lot across the street right next to the park. You know that park on the intersection? Well, they're going to renovate the park, and they're going to build a parking lot behind that. So it should be very nice. I mentioned this was closed off in 1954. It was sat abandoned, and unfortunately, over those years, this area became a refuge for Cleveland's homeless. Many people came down here to live, stay out of the cold, and so forth. When I came down here 9 years ago, there were people living in this exact spot in boxes. And it was a tragic thing to see. There was no electricity here. We came through with lights. The garbage in many areas was almost knee-high. All sorts of things here, and really a tragic thing. Fortunately, however, the community in this near west side, Old Angle neighborhood, has begun to cope with its homeless. There's the St. Malachy's Church, which supplies food to the needy every day of the week, and there's also the Stella Maris facility over there for shelter for the homeless. So they have stayed out of this bridge area, and I haven't seen anybody here in quite a few years. But thankful for that. But this was, unfortunately, an area where they came for many years when this had been closed off. So we have the Forest City Bank building. Off to our side over here, we had the Detroit Avenue Tunnel. This extended about 700 feet down the center of Detroit Avenue, came up near Van Roy Coffee. And you might be familiar with the way Detroit Avenue is very wide and it narrows off. That's where the subway entrances used to be. And of course the West 25th Street Tunnel, which we passed, extended about 500 feet down the center of Detroit Avenue, or excuse me, West 25th Street, and then we had the Detroit Avenue. This is where they would divide off. I mentioned about the streetcars and running within the city and all different lines and so forth. We also had the interurban lines that traveled through here, and most of those traveled through the Detroit Avenue Tunnel. And they were wide cars, and then at the end of the tunnel, we can't see it, but they were so wide in some areas that the footboards for the streetcars actually made a big groove in the cement wall, which is kind of interesting to see. You could ride a streetcar from this bridge area out to Toledo. You go out to Detroit, Michigan. One of the memorable trips was to Cedar Point, also out to Crystal Beach. Does anybody remember Crystal Beach? I guess that was out in Vermilion, huh? And so this was Cleveland's streetcar hub. And we have the West 25th Street angle and the Forest City Bank building, which is being remodeled. What we'll do now is we'll follow the tape, and we'll go back to where we came in that little aisle, and there's a few more things I'd like to say to you. But before we go, are there any questions? Anything, anybody has any questions? Yes?
When's that Italian restaurant supposed to open?
It's going to open up in either January, February 1990. Yes?
Why did they close it? The subway.
Okay, the subway was closed when streetcars were discontinued in Cleveland. Matter of fact, the last line to run through the bridge and through the city was the old Madison Avenue line. It ran on January 24th, 1954. That was the last day for streetcars in Cleveland. Why did the streetcars, why were they discontinued? One of the things that happened was that General Motors introduced the Air Ride automatic transmission diesel bus. Cities around the nation quickly abandoned their streetcar lines because of maneuverability problems. They wanted a fuel-efficient way of running their transportation systems, and they felt the bus was the way to go at the time. And streetcars were eliminated in cities across the United States. Yes?
Maybe you said this, I didn't hear it. This went down West 25th.
Yes, about 550 feet. Well, we'll travel this way. See the old streetcar connection, and that was for one of the tracks here in the center aisle. The hallway which we passed, that was the last entrance to be added to the bridge. That was built in 1939. That led up to a shelter house, which is still standing today up next to our bridge garage and test laboratory where you came into the building. There's a little plaque up there that commemorates the opening of the last subway entrance. And if you saw our photo display, we do have a few pictures of that shelter house. You might like to take a look at that. You might be asking, where are the tracks here? Back in 1959, Cuyahoga County test ran traffic through this area. You might have saw the photograph we have by the coffee urn there. Shows the picture we have showing them testing traffic through here. What they did is they just brought some cars and trucks through, not driven by the general public, but just on a test run. And what they found was that these tunnels and so forth were too narrow for traffic. And there was also some ventilation problems, so the idea was abandoned. Of course, they were attempting to try to alleviate some of the traffic congestion on the upper level, but it did not work. Of course, as I mentioned to you when we started our tour, they did add the outside lanes back in 1967-69, which did help the traffic problem. Why did we bring you down here? We wanted you to see this historic landmark. It is listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, the bridge, the subway, as well as the Forest City Bank building. They're all recognized landmarks. Mr. Neff, the county engineer, would like someday for this to be developed into a commercial or retail space. we're making it available for people to see, at least to draw up some public interest in preserving this national landmark. We don't know if anything will ever be done with this area, but at least we'd like to create some interest and maybe stir up somebody's imagination. You never know, maybe someone here in this audience might like to take on the project someday. If not, at least someday, if you read about it in the paper, maybe when it is starting to say, I remember this when this used to be an old ramshackle worth of a tunnel. So I think it's worth seeing, and I think the place kind of speaks for itself. It is rather unique and somewhat majestic in its personality. Are there any questions?
I got it. It's running out.
She ran away. She said she couldn't stand it anymore.
Where is she?
She went in the building.
What surprises me is that
That's awfully a long drop when you look down in that hole.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It's my back, my knees hurt.
Yeah, use the zoom. See how good we can get with the terminal.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike? Does it look familiar?
it's kind of hard, you know, because I know that's the project. I think our house is right about here.
Well, Jeff, you remember
See,
this?
down below,
I mean,
we call
did
an
you live
alley.
there?
There was an alley there, and people had homes down there too, because they couldn't afford anything else. But see, that road there where that house is, that's Columbus Road.
So where was the farm at where you threw it to the chickens?
Well, he was down on this side.
Oh,
Yeah, he was like in the
he
alley.
was on by the sign line.
Yeah.